My mascara wand pauses mid-swipe. Grace appears behind me in the bathroom mirror, small fingers nervously twisting the hem of her unicorn nightgown. Something in her reflection freezes me. The flick of her green eyes, so like mine, toward the window that overlooks our circular driveway, where my car waits. Mommy. Her voice is barely a whisper, quieter than her 6 years should allow. Just a minute, sweetie. I finish applying the mascara, urgency pricking at me. The Anderson report weighs down my briefcase downstairs, already overdue by a day. Go grab your shoes for school. But Grace stays rooted in place, her fingers pulling harder at the cotton fabric. Please don't drive today. Her words are strange enough to make me turn. What? She steps closer, rising on tiptoes to breathe something into my ear. Daddy did something. A chill slides across my spine, even though the mirror is still fogged from my hot shower. Before I can respond, Alan fills the doorway, travel mug in hand, crisp shirt freshly pressed, a sharp contrast to Grace's wrinkled nightgown and the morning sluggishness. His voice is casual, but there's something in his eyes when they meet mine through the mirror. I made you coffee. Thanks. I glance at my watch. 7:45. The museum board meeting starts at 9, and Burlington traffic is always a nightmare. Grace. Shoes. Now, honey. She backs away slowly, never looking away from Alan. When did she start watching him like that? The question fades as I rush down the stairs, the familiar fatigue already curling around me, even after the extra espresso I dumped into my coffee. The scrape along my car's guardrail catches the morning light, an ugly silver line from last week's close call. My hands had felt so heavy on the wheel, my reflexes too sluggish to manage the sharp turn on Mountain Road. You're pushing yourself too hard, Alan had said when I told him about it, but his tone had none of the softness it once held, none of the tenderness from our wedding day 7 years ago. No trace of the joy that lit his face the day we brought Grace home. No echo of the thrill we'd shared when we first stepped into this Victorian dream house. Everything changed after Mom died. I sipped the coffee Alan handed me, struggling to concentrate as Grace's light footsteps whispered across the hardwood floor. She's been hovering in doorways lately, quiet as a shadow on the edge of every room. Just last week, I found a crayon drawing tucked under my pillow, stick figures in our driveway, Alan holding what looked like a bottle. The Anderson report can't wait any longer. Alan's voice cuts through my thoughts. He leans casually against the kitchen counter, keys jangling softly against his thigh. The board's expecting it. The tiredness deepens. I grip the edge of the counter, Grace's whisper echoing in my head. Her words shouldn't get to me. They're probably just another passing phase, like how she recently refused to let Alan tuck her in at bedtime. But still, they dig beneath my skin, especially when coupled with the quiet dread that's been growing ever since I found that life insurance pamphlet tucked away in Alan's desk drawer last month. I think I'm going to call in sick. Alan's hand still rests on his car keys. You can't be serious. I am. The words leave my mouth before I even realize I'm saying them. I'll be working from home today, Marianne. His tone sharpens at the sound of my name. The museum needs that report. It can wait a day. I don't meet his eyes as I pull out my phone to call in, but I can feel his stare press against me when I finally lift my gaze. His face remains composed, unreadable, but his grip on his travel mug turns his knuckles pale. Fine. He places the mug down with enough force that coffee sloshes over the rim. I'm going for my run. The front door closes behind him with calculated care. Through the window, I watch him start down our tree-lined street. It's part of his new morning ritual, the one he adopted right after Mom's funeral, right after the inheritance money came through. Grace's small hand finds mine, warm and solid. When I glance down, her shoulders seem lighter than they've been all morning. What is it children notice that slips past adults? And even if someone you love gives you a warning that doesn't quite make sense, would you heed it? I nearly didn't. But by that night, I'd understand how close I came to never making it home again. The afternoon sun filters through the branches of the maple trees, casting shifting shadows across the yard. Grace dances through the sprinkler, her laughter riding the breeze. Droplets shimmer in the light like scattered rainbows. And for just a heartbeat, I nearly forget the weight of what she said this morning.
Hi, Mommy.
She bounds through the water again, her unicorn t-shirt clinging to her skin. Make it go higher. I adjust the sprinkler head, and the arc climbs. My fingers graze the fresh grass clippings stuck to the metal.
It's all so ordinary. Safe.
Predictable. Watch me. Grace sprints forward again, then freezes mid-step. Her nose crinkles. The car doesn't smell weird today. My hand stills on the sprinkler. What do you mean weird? Like Daddy's gym bag? She shrugs, water dripping from her pigtails. It always makes me sleepy on the way to school. The sprinkler keeps sweeping side to side, but all I can hear now is the pounding of blood in my ears. Those sleepy drives. The guardrail. The mountain road. The sharp curve. When did you first notice that smell, sweetie? After Grandma passed. Grace knocks the fluff off a dandelion with her foot. That's when Daddy started washing the car every morning. My throat tightens. Grace, sweetheart, why don't you go put on your favorite show for a bit while I check on something? Just for a little while? She nods and darts inside, leaving wet footprints along the slate path. I wait until I hear the familiar jingle of her cartoon before heading to my car. The driver's door opens with its usual soft click. Everything appears perfectly normal. The leather seats gleam, a testament to Alan's meticulous cleaning habits. My travel mug rests in its usual place, a coral lipstick mark still visible on the rim. The emergency kit he was so adamant about buying last month remains untouched in the trunk. I must be imagining things. Grace's words from earlier echo in my mind. And now this. Maybe I'm letting paranoia take over. But Alan's voice continues to reverberate in my thoughts. You're pushing yourself too hard. He always says that after I have a close call. And always with that strange glint in his eyes. Mommy. Grace's voice interrupts. She's standing in the garage doorway, her cartoon forgotten. You're checking the wrong place. Then where should I look? I ask. She points toward the dashboard. That sleepy smell. It comes from there. The little holes where the air comes out. I reach into my purse, pull out some tissues, and begin wiping inside the nearest vent. The tissue comes away with a faint gloss, and something about the scent triggers a tickle in my nose. It's minty, slightly medicinal, just like the muscle rub Alan applies after his morning jogs. My hands are trembling as I punch in Joanne's number. 2 decades of friendship ensure she answers on the first ring. Marie, aren't you supposed to be at work? I need your professional opinion. But the words catch, thick in my throat. I'm the Mac. Once I say it out loud, it becomes real. If someone wanted to make another person so drowsy they might crash their car, what would they use? A charged silence fills the line. When Joanne replies, her pharmacist instincts take the reins. Send me a photo of any residue. And Marie, don't touch anything else with bare hands. Upstairs, Grace's footsteps patter away. With unsteady fingers, I document everything. The oily residue in the vents, the fresh scuffs along the dashboard. Then I spot it, a small spray bottle, wedged behind the car manual in the glove box. One I definitely never placed there. Suddenly, a voice makes me jump. Mommy, Grace again. She's in her yellow butterfly pajamas, eyes half-lidded with sleep. That's what Daddy uses to clean the car. My stomach turns. You've seen him use this? She nods. Every day after he runs. He says it keeps the car fresh, but it always makes my nose itchy. I close my eyes, recalling the broken security camera Alan installed in the garage last month, the one he claimed wasn't working. An hour later, I'm at my computer, the garage footage taking over the screen. Each morning this week, Alan appears, always between 6:45 and 7 a.m., always with that same little bottle. Always on the days I've felt the most drowsy. My hand drifts to the bottom drawer of his desk, always locked. But now, the key sits in plain sight, disguised as a paperweight. I open it. A stack of crisp papers fills a manila folder. My name leaps off the page. A life insurance policy for $950,000. The date, 3 weeks after Mom's inheritance landed in our account. The primary beneficiary, Alan Morgan. My hands tremble as I trace the drive to work in my mind, past Miller's farm, around the reservoir, up the mountain road. The same road where the guardrail still shows silver stars from my crash. The same curve where the drop is deep, sharp enough that no one would ever question a sleepy driver's final mistake. I press my clenched fist to my lips, trying to stifle the screams swelling inside my chest. The man who once vowed to love me for the rest of our lives has been methodically planning my murder. Every morning drive is another piece of his careful choreography. The moment I hear Alan's car in the driveway, the fog that paralyzes me breaks. I have only seconds to put everything back precisely where it was. To fix my expression into a mask of calm. To act like I'm none the wiser. My husband wants me dead. Just then, Grace appears in the doorway, her green eyes steady and serious. This time, I hear the depth of truth in her soft voice. I told you Daddy did something bad. My hands tremble as I take photos of the spray bottle from every possible angle. The late afternoon sun slants through the kitchen window, lighting up the droplets, still clinging to the nozzle. Each snap of my phone's camera feels like another strike against the crumbling remains of my marriage. I send a message to Joanne. Red roses wilting. It's our old college code, the phrase we swore we'd use when we needed to help each other escape toxic relationships. Back then, we pictured messy breakups over cheating or drinking. Not this, she replies immediately. We're coming. Moments later, Robert's black SUV glides into our circular driveway. 15 minutes pass. I watch from the window as Joanne hurries up the path, clutching her oversized purse, the one she's used more than once to sneak medication samples from the pharmacy. Seeing her, my dearest friend, rushing to my side breaks something loose in my chest. Where's Grace? She asks, wrapping me in a firm, lavender-scented hug that temporarily steadies me. Upstairs, watching cartoons. I lead them both to the kitchen table, where I've arranged all the evidence. The spray bottle, tissues with oily smudges, and the insurance forms I discovered in Alan's desk. I needed Grace to be occupied for this. Robert pulls on latex gloves with practiced ease. Walk me through what you've got, he says. I recount everything while he inspects the spray bottle under the portable UV light he brought with him. The sharp scent of mint intensifies as he works, making my stomach churn with the memory of that exact smell filling my car. This isn't window cleaner, Robert says, his voice carrying the calm, precise tone I know from my own work in museum conservation. The consistency's off. See how it clings to the interior? He dabs some of the residue onto a test strip. The strip shifts into a disturbing shade of purple. That's a preliminary positive for benzodiazepines. Joanne tightens her grip on my hand. Marion, that's a sedative. The room pitches slightly around me. He's been drugging me. In that moment, one thought rises above the swirling sickness in my gut, sharp and clear. I need to talk to Grace.
She's the reason we caught this in time.
She deserves to understand that she was right. I find her sitting cross-legged on her yellow bedspread, focused on the coloring book in her lap, using the new markers Alan bought her just last week. The sight of her makes my chest ache with love and grief. How many of those gifts were hush money, sweetheart? I sit next to her, watching as she immediately puts her markers aside to focus entirely on me. Since when did my 6-year-old become so adept at reading a situation? I have something serious to ask you. Did you ever put anything else inside Mommy's car? She nods silently, nervously fidgeting with her unicorn's tail. Alan doesn't always work alone. Sometimes Grandma Eleanor assists him. She holds the bottle while he sprays the air, clearing it of my breath. Naturally, Alan's mother. The same woman who accused me of being a gold digger on our wedding day and never forgave me for moving her son away to Vermont. The same woman who kindly recommended that Alan be listed as the sole beneficiary on my newly updated life insurance policy.
Grace.
I keep my tone level. How would you feel about a special sleepover at Aunt Joanne's? Katie's been asking when you can come visit. Her green eyes, a mirror of mine, scan my face for reassurance. Will you be all right? I nod and draw her into my arms, inhaling the scent of her strawberry shampoo. You were incredibly brave for telling me about the car, sweetheart.
You protected me.
She hugs me tightly. I didn't want you to grow attached to Grandma Collins. My mother's death, the inheritance, Alan's sudden interest in jogging. Each detail falling into place with dreadful clarity. Downstairs, Robert is preparing to deliver the evidence to a hospital lab technician he trusts. He promises initial results within 2 hours and full confirmation by midnight. I pace through the house, seeing everything anew, like the antique mirrors that once seemed charming. My mother had helped me pick out the family photos, the ones where Alan's smile always seemed just a bit too forced. In the pocket of his coat, I discover a crumpled receipt from the pharmacy, dated 3 weeks ago. The lab results come in right at midnight through an encrypted email. I read them twice, my brain instinctively sorting the drug names like relics in an exhibit. Each one linked to drowsiness, confusion, dulled reflexes. A flawless recipe for a fatal accident on a twisting Vermont road. We have to call the police. Joanne's voice doesn't waver, but I shake my head.
Not yet.
If we act prematurely, he'll erase the proof. We need to catch him in the act. My hands are calm as I dial Detective Sarah Wilson, the one who investigated my mother's estate. I'd always sensed she doubted the official story. Don't tip him off, she warns after I tell her everything. We'll need more evidence, but I'll have a team in place by morning. That night, I lie in bed beside Alan, listening to the steady rhythm of his breathing. The man I once loved. The father of my daughter. The same man who had calculated the precise dosage to drive me off a cliff. My phone vibrates gently. A message from Joanne. Grace is sound asleep. Katie's overjoyed to have her sister friend with her tonight. In the darkness, an eerie calm settles over me. I've spent 7 years constructing this life, curating the illusion of a perfect home and being the ideal wife. Now I'll spend one final night within these walls, collecting the pieces needed to dismantle it all. I think of Grace's soft warning, her tiny hands knotting the fabric of her nightgown. While I clung to the comfort of beautiful eyes, my daughter had already seen the truth. But tomorrow, I'll show her that true courage lies in confronting harsh realities and enduring them. Alan shifts beside me in his sleep, his fingers brushing against my arm. I don't recoil. I've learned from the very best. When the sun rises, I'll step into the role of a lifetime and hope it's enough. It's not actually the last one. A yawn wells up from somewhere deep inside me, not entirely faked. My hands tremble slightly as I stir a third spoonful of sugar into my coffee. Sleep barely touched me last night. Across the kitchen island, Alan watches, already clutching his travel mug. Morning light reflects off the titanium ring I once believed meant forever. Maybe the scenic route will wake you up, he offers. That mountain air you like so much. My stomach twists. I take another sip of coffee, using the motion to hide my face and the way my fingers tremble against the cup. How many times had you suggested that route? All while knowing what sat waiting in my vents, still gray, still at Joanne's. His voice remains casual, but something in his eyes flickers. A trace of what? Concern? No, something colder, more calculated. I stretch and settle into the act. The girls had a great time with their movie night, I say. Joanne said she'd give her breakfast. The sample taken from my vents isn't tucked among Disney DVDs. It's in Joanne's kitchen, quietly damning. Alan doesn't need to know that. Outside, I glimpse Detective Wilson's unmarked car, discreetly hidden by Mrs. Peterson's overgrown hydrangeas. My heart races, but I force my movements to slow. I rinse my mug with deliberate care, masking urgency beneath feigned sluggishness. Running late, he mutters, his knuckles tightening around the travel mug. He's checked the time 3 times already. Just tired, right? Another yawn. Think I'll grab my notes from upstairs before I go? I say. Need something from the garage, too. He sets his mug down too fast. Coffee splashes, leaving a dark smear on the granite. He doesn't even notice as he heads for the door. The nanny cam I installed last night blinks soundlessly from the shelf, beside Grace's forgotten teddy bear. My hands go cold as I pull up the feed on my phone. I watch him, calm and efficient, retrieve a small bottle from his jacket pocket. Sunlight catches his face as he leans into my car, spraying the vents with measured precision. I press my hand to my mouth to muffle the sound escaping me. This man, the one who kissed me goodbye each morning, who tucked our daughter into bed at night, has been planning my murder with the same meticulous order he applies to his closet. Mr. Morgan, Detective Wilson's voice cuts sharply through the air, echoing inside the garage. Alan jumps, and the spray bottle slips from his grasp, hitting the concrete with a loud clatter before rolling beneath my car. "It's just an air freshener," he blurts out, his voice too forceful for the confined space. His eyes snap toward the kitchen window, toward me. I can see the question written on his face. "What have you done?" I hold his gaze through the glass. For a fleeting second, I see the man I once married, the one who twirled me around the dance floor on our wedding night, who wept the first time Grace was placed in his arms. Then his expression shifts, transforming into someone I don't recognize. Someone I never truly knew. "We received the lab results this morning, Mr. Morgan," Detective Wilson says, stepping closer, her tone unwavering. Another officer materializes behind her, the light catching on the handcuffs he's holding. "The substance found in your wife's vehicle?"
Vance.
"It matches the sedative detected in her system," she continues. "You have the right to remain silent." Alan's voice breaks as he protests. This is a mistake. The metallic click of the cuffs punctuates the moment. "Marion, tell them," he pleads. "Tell them." I remain still, silent. My fingertips press against the window pane, smudging the glass. "I'll probably clean it later. Just out of habit." As they escort him away, Alan's phone slips from his pocket, hitting the garage floor with a dull thud. Almost immediately, the screen lights up, buzzing softly against the concrete. Minutes later, a silver Lexus squeals into our driveway. Eleanor's mother steps out, gripping a manila envelope tightly. Her flawlessly styled hair gleams in the morning sun as she takes in the scene. Police officers, flashing lights. "What did you do to my son?" she demands, holding the envelope like a blade. I catch a glimpse of what's inside, what looks like bank withdrawal slips peeking out from the edge. Detective Wilson steps forward again, flanked by another officer. "Mrs. Morgan," she says evenly, "we have evidence tying you to the attempted murder of your daughter-in-law." Her eyes flick to the envelope. "Those bank statements, do they show cash withdrawals corresponding to the purchase of prescription sedatives?" Color drains from Eleanor's face. The envelope trembles in her hand, then slips through her fingers. Papers flutter to the ground, scattering across the driveway like autumn leaves. I don't move from the window. I watch as they guide her into a second cruiser. In the glass, I catch the glint of my mother's pearl earrings, ones Alan once claimed made me look like the ideal Morgan wife. Behind me on the shelf sits Grace's teddy bear. Inside it, a hidden camera had captured every crucial second of the truth I needed. As the police vehicles pull away, their lights still flashing, I finally collapse into a kitchen chair. A coffee stain, one of Alan's, spreads slowly across the granite countertop, darkening the natural crevices in the stone. Like the truth about our life together, it leaves a trace no amount of cleaning can ever fully erase. How do you start again when the life you were building was never meant to last? For Grace's sake, I'd have to find out. But not yet. For now, I sit in silence, watching the sunlight rise steadily across a world that looks unchanged, though everything is different now. That very same day, at the station, the legs of a metal chair scrape against linoleum as Detective Wilson slides a tablet across the interrogation room table. The screen lights up. The video begins without a single word. Alan sits, shoulders sagging, the once crisp lines of his button-down now creased from hours of interrogation. "Tell me about the plan." Wilson's voice is firm, edged with the assurance of someone who already knows the answer. "They all do." I watch Alan's fingers tap against the cold metal table. 3 taps. A pause. 3 more. Another pause. The same rhythm he used when reading the Sunday paper. It was meant to be simple. His voice breaks. "Mom suggested it after the inheritance came through." He clears his throat. "Said Marion would be better off. Said Grace needed a father who could give her everything." My vision swims, the tablet screen blurring as tears prick my eyes. I force them back. I won't cry for the man wearing my husband's face. The sedative in the air vents made it look like he nodded off behind the wheel. "That curve on Mountain Road," Wilson says, letting the phrase linger in the silence. "She always took that way." Alan folds further into himself. "Except when she didn't." Some mornings, she took the long route, stopped for coffee, called Joanne. His laugh is hollow, empty. Even when she was breaking everything apart, she had no idea she was saving herself. I remember those mornings, the unexplainable impulse to take the scenic path, to breathe, to feel alive. The courtroom air feels unnaturally cold as I rise to testify. My mother's pearl earrings press against my skin as I sit on the stand, my voice firm and unwavering. I fix my gaze on Judge Martinez's warm eyes, carefully avoiding the defense table, where Alan sits beside Eleanor. Mrs. Morgan, my lawyer says gently, her tone formal, respectful. Please tell the court what your daughter said that morning. The memory is sharp, vivid, Grace twisting the hem of her nightgown, her soft voice a lifeline. The quiet warning that saved me. Alan's eyes watching me closely as he handed me coffee. Eleanor's voice slices through the courtroom. She changed him. My son was perfect until she, Mrs. Morgan. Judge Martinez silences her with a look that could turn fire to ice. Please continue. The courtroom stills, holding its breath for the next witness. Grace walks slowly into the judge's chambers, her yellow dress standing out against the dark wood paneling. Her little fingers trace shapes on the desk as she speaks. I saw Daddy spraying the car a bunch of times. It made me sleepy when Mommy drove me to school. She draws a lopsided heart with her fingertip. I made a picture about it. Want to see? The crayon drawing flashes onto the evidence screen. 2 stick figures stand beside a car. The smaller one, clearly a toddler, clutches a bottle. Nearby, in the deliberate scrawl of a child's handwriting, are the words, Daddy made Mommy's car weird. The prosecutor gently places a box of tissues near Grace. She doesn't reach for them. The weight of those words ripples through our tight-knit town like stones breaking the calm of Stillwater Lake. Even something as simple as grocery shopping turns into a gauntlet of sidelong glances and half-spoken whispers that go silent the moment I turn a corner. A few neighbors come by with casseroles and cautious embraces. Others quietly cross the street when they spot me approaching. Did you ever have any idea? They murmur, only when they assume I'm out of earshot. There had to be signs. The Burlington Free Press splashes the story across its front page. Local museum curator orchestrates murder plot. 7 years of marriage are flattened into tabloid-worthy headlines and gossipy theories about my supposed inheritance. I call and cancel our subscription the same Thursday the verdict is announced. 15 years for Alan. 8 for Eleanor. The judgments drop in the hushed courtroom like anvils. Marian Allen's voice trembles as her son is led away by the bailiff.
Please look at me. Please.
But I keep my gaze locked ahead, focusing on Grace's warm hand in mine, the sunlight streaming through the tall windows and the future stretching out before us. A future untouched by the dark shadow of what came before. As we step down the courthouse stairs, she tugs at my hand. Can we get ice cream?
Yes.
The answer comes without hesitation. Today is for celebrating survival, and we do it at the corner parlor. Grace licks her chocolate cone, vanilla streaks running down her arm. Did I do good, Mommy? When I told. Her words hit me like a jolt. How do you explain to a 6-year-old that her father valued money more than her mother's life? That sometimes, the ones we're supposed to trust the most prove the least worthy of it. You did better than good, I tell her, smoothing her hair and awed by her quiet courage. You did the right thing. That's the bravest thing a person can do. She nods solemnly and returns to her ice cream. The late sun turns her face golden, and I think of all we might have lost. Every morning giggle, every cone of ice cream, every scraped knee and school day, gone in a flash on a winding road. I love you, baby. The words don't feel like enough for the child who saw what I missed, who spoke up when I refused to listen, who saved more than just my life. Love you too. She grins up at me, chocolate smeared across her chin. Can we get sprinkles next time? I laugh, surprised by the sound. Next time, we'll get extra sprinkles. Some truths are too heavy for soft words, but maybe that's okay. Maybe all we can really do is hold close the people we love, say yes to the sprinkles, and keep moving forward. The moving truck disappears down the street, leaving Grace and me standing outside our new rental. It's much smaller than the old Victorian, white clapboard in need of paint, steps that groan underfoot, and a porch that wraps around like open arms. Grace squeezes my hand and points to the little patch of earth near the stairs. For the first time in weeks, her smile lights up her whole face. "Can we plant flowers here, Mommy? Real ones?" "Of course, sweetheart." I hold her hand tight, thinking of the fake bouquets Alan always insisted on. "What colors should we get?" She bounces in place, her excitement contagious. "Yellow, purple, red, and pink." That first afternoon, we only unpack the things that spark joy in our hearts. Grace's collection of stuffed unicorns takes center stage on her new window seat, proudly displayed. My mother's old recipe box finds its spot on the kitchen counter beside the mixer I treated myself to as a housewarming present. When Grace finds a cookie sheet left behind by the previous tenant, we baptize the kitchen with a batch of chocolate chip cookies, the scent of vanilla warmth pushing out the lingering mustiness in the air. "Your room next?" I ask her. Grace nods eagerly, clutching the paint swatches we picked out the day before. She selected the brightest yellow, a hue like sunshine in midsummer. I roll the first stripe onto the wall while she sits cross-legged on her bare mattress, legs swinging in rhythm. "Dr. Brooks says it's okay to feel happy and sad at once," she announces. Then she adds that while she liked her old room, she loves this one more. I pause mid-stroke, watching paint drip onto the cloth below. Her weekly sessions with Dr. Samuel Brooks have given her language for emotions I'm still learning to name. He's right, I realize I feel that way too. Later that week, I sit in my own healing circle, a support group for those recovering from domestic betrayal. The church basement smells faintly of coffee and stale donuts, but the women gathered there radiate resilience as I begin to tell my story. Their nods, filled with empathy, tell me they've walked roads much like mine. I tell them the hardest part wasn't finding out what Alan was planning. It was admitting how often I silenced my own gut. How many mornings I felt unusually tired, yet never questioned the coffee he brewed so attentively. A silver-haired woman named Ruth reaches over to squeeze my hand and says, "But you listened when it counted. You heard your daughter's warning." That same night, while watching her sleep peacefully in her yellow room bathed in light, I opened my journal and wrote, "Day 15 in our new home. No nightmares." She laughed today, real, unbroken laughter that rose up from somewhere deep. The idea for a fresh start, a second blooming, came to me one Saturday morning during our pancake ritual. Grace sat at the kitchen table, carefully arranging blueberries into smiley faces on her stack. As I flipped through the local paper, an article about cuts to art programs in schools caught my eye, and suddenly I saw a path forward. A purpose growing from the ruins of what Alan destroyed. I used a portion of my inheritance, the money he never touched, to create a nonprofit for young women in the arts. The local community center offers space for weekend classes, and soon I find myself teaching art history to teenage girls who remind me of who I once was, hungry for beauty and understanding. "I think my mom helps people start over," I hear Grace say to her new friend Sarah during a playdate. Her quiet pride wraps around my heart like something warm and familiar. One evening, Dr. Brooks, Sam, as he now invites me to call him, drops by with a box of donated art supplies from his sister's gallery. He stays for dinner, and somewhere between passing the salad bowl and swapping stories about our favorite museums, I realize I'm laughing. Not the cautious, restrained laughter that used to define my life, but something untamed and free, starting in my belly and rippling outward. Grace notices later, as I'm tucking her in, showing me the drawing she's just completed. 3 figures stand in front of a yellow house, surrounded by flowers. Grace, me, and a tall man with kind eyes and a soft smile. Could this be Dr. Brooks? I ask my heart, doing a peculiar little dance. She nods gravely. He makes you laugh. Legs too, before Daddy got me inside. Time passes, months slip by, and seasons change. Our garden blooms, fades, and blooms again. One crisp autumn morning, Grace and I head to her school. Along the winding highway where Alan once plotted my accident. She's singing along to the radio, some pop song about butterflies and fresh starts. As we pass the sharp bend with its newly repaired guardrail, I quietly remark, more to myself than her, that this is where our new life began. But Grace hears me. She stops singing, reaches across the console, and takes my hand. "I'm glad I told you, Mommy. I'm glad you believed me." Later that evening, I sat on our porch swing, watching the grays chase fireflies in the front yard. The setting sun painted the sky in hues of pink and gold, a stark contrast to the heavy gray that had once loomed over our old house. A stack of mail rested on my lap, and at the top lay a letter confirming the sale of the Victorian. The lie of our former life severed clean. Grace runs up the porch steps, her hands cupped gently around a glowing firefly. "Look, Mommy. It's making its own light." I smile, watching the tiny creature flicker against her palms before she releases it into the evening. Sometimes the smallest lights lead us home. Sometimes the quietest voices carry the truths that save us. And sometimes when we think we're starting over, we're actually finding our way back to who we were always meant to be. The firefly rises, blinking its radiant message into the twilight. Grace leans against my legs, and together we watch it disappear into the darkening night, its light joining the first stars beginning to twinkle overhead.